Hi, thanks for joining us today. I'm Susie Wolfson and I'm joined by my colleague Craig Skelton. We are your hosts for the Mind Your Own Business series. Craig and I work with innovators and entrepreneurs, business founders and leaders. And this series allows us to look under the bonnet and show what they've achieved, what their success is, and managing some of those bigger issues that they encounter on a daily basis. But before we get into that, Craig, I'd just like to remind you that we met Aaron last time from Bloom and Wild, and we talked a lot about Valentine's Day.
We did.
So I'd quite like to ask you what you've sorted for Valentine's Day.
Do you know what I'd really love to say to you? I'd love to say mind your own business, but I'm pretty certain the people behind these cameras would be groaning, so I'm not going to say that. However, I was going to say I've also got a lot of women in my life. What I mean by that is my 2-year-old and definitely my 11-year-old who also want gifts on Valentine's. So no, I haven't. But what worries me even more is we are joined today by Nina Chaletsos from Luxi Tripper. Next time you'll be asking me, have I booked a luxury holiday, which is a bit more expensive than a gift for Valentine's. But look, we've got Nina here. Please do use the function to ask your questions. But without further ado, we'll come over to you, Nina. Thank you so much for joining us. Can we just start with, tell us a little bit about the story of Luxi Tripper?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me here as well. So yeah, Luxi Tripper, our vision is essentially to provide a convenient and meaningful way for the modern luxury consumer to find the perfect trip. So the story really for me is I've always had an immense passion for travel. I've had family members spread around the world. So as a child, I've grown up traveling around the world, and my parents very lucky and blessed to be able to do that. But I've also been obsessed with solving problems. So it's been something that every time there was an opportunity to jump in a disaster or solve a problem, I was always there. So it's something that sort of drives me as an individual. So my passion for travel led me all over the world. But one of the things that I always found was that it was very time consuming. I was a busy professional. I enjoyed the process of finding a trip and putting it together, but it was also quite time consuming, and trying to find that time was difficult. And I found it quite surprising that there was no simple, quick and easy way for me to build a complex trip. And when I say complex trip, all the flights, the transfers, the hotel or hotels if I was traveling around, and all the experiences that were relevant to me. So that was where the vision of Luxi Tripper started. And many of our clients are very digital savvy. So, we appeal to a more kind of a demographic that is slightly younger than your traditional luxury players. However, we do also appeal to the more mature digital savvy customers. And, what we've done is we've been focusing on solving that problem with technology. So, looking at how do we enable the process of building a really complicated trip for our clients really quick. They're time poor.
So we'll come on to tech, because I wouldn't say I'm tech savvy, but certainly...
You're on the mature end then.
Yeah, I'm on the mature end. I guess the bit for me, and you were, and I might get the number wrong, and John would kill me, but I think you were 34th on the Phoebe growth. You've grown 100% pretty much every year for the last few years. And I say that because I reflect back, and we all went through the COVID, the pandemic. You grew. I sat there as a consumer, planes are grounded, nobody's going anywhere. You grew. And I guess first question is how. the follow-up, and I think I'd quite like to explore for everybody out there, is around then supply chain. Mm-hmm. Because I guess I looked at it as a consumer thinking, wow, what is going to happen to the travel industry and your supply chain? And I guess how did you manage that at Luxi Tripper? Mm.
So, kind of coming back to the first point that we grew in a pandemic. Pre-pandemic, we were still, startup beginning to go into a growth business.
Right.
So the things that startups experience is problems, disasters every day. There's a disaster every day. And we were used to a very agile business, and we're very kind of comfortable in that environment because it's what how we work. There's a problem, we have to solve it. We didn't have masses of resources around available to us. The pandemic was a problem, but on a much bigger scale. And how do you run a business that cannot deliver on the product that you're actually providing?
Well, I'm glad you've said that, because I was worried there were people going on holidays and I didn't know about it.
No, well, I would join you on that if they were. So we grew 100% each year during the pandemic. And, when you think about it, how can you do that? For us, there was a number of things. I think the supply chain point is actually a very crucial point for us. So for me, a supply chain is not just about the supply end. A supply chain is nothing without the demand. Yep. And that was what the demand there. So being a very digital first, social first business, when we launched on social. We had, by that point, built a community of 250,000 people in our community across all the various platforms and newsletters, etc. So we already had the ability to tap into those audiences and in real time understand the sentiment. So people can't travel. After a week, we were all absolutely bored. If we were to put certain content in front of them, what we started doing was testing the sentiment, the reactions. Historical data, trends no longer were relevant because we were in a new era, lockdown, never experienced in a lifetime. So we used that as a platform to be able to understand the sentiment and be able to react to it. So an example is putting out content. Are people engaging with it? And very quickly, within 2 weeks, we realized that people, no one knew the pandemic was going to go on as long as it was going to. We all believed that in a few months it'll be over. So the sentiment there was to book a holiday. After this, I'm going to need a holiday. And what we were able to do was test what kind of product very quickly people would be interested in consuming, and same day getting that product out there for our clients to book. And we were able to do that very quickly. So that enabled us to continue our growth. It was a really easy time in the sense that when no one else is doing anything, we took the brave step, the bold step to leap forward based on the data. And, for those people that wanted to book, we were there and we took it. And we continued growing throughout the pandemic. So what we then did with that, I think coming back to the supplier end of it, was that, they were in the same situation. And they, for them, what we provided was certainty that there is interest and sentiment, and we are getting the bookings. And we really worked with them to refine the product. We also had customers that had booked with us who were due to travel, couldn't travel. And more than 85% of our clients wanted to travel still. So when we moved their trips forward, working with the supplier side of the pipeline, we actually worked at improving and enhancing that trip. So what the client had originally booked, what could we add on at no further cost to the client? At that same time, build stronger relationships with the supply chain by, committing to them that we are in this together, but we also can bring the demand to you if you work with us. And that was a really good learning point for us. We have built many more partners from this. We've come out stronger for it. And during the pandemic, we actually expanded our product to all continents. And we've got, I think, 70,000 itineraries in our system now, 5,000 experiences. So we're stronger for it from the pandemic, and have much better relationships with our partners. I think the cash part is also important. Cash is king in every business. So by working with the demand, our clients, and understanding what they wanted to book, and also renegotiating with our partners to say, we're going to have longer lead times now, it enabled us to plan better as well. So I think we've taken some really good learnings that we're going to continue on.
Apply that,
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. This is the way we're going to continue working going forward. It means we're resilient, but it also means that our partners get really good insights that we continue.
And
passing on.
have you done anything different in terms of assessing who your partners or your supply chain is?
Yeah, so one of the principles for us, and this is something that I'm deeply passionate about, is ensuring that the protection of animals in particular. So we're very passionate about kind of nature. I think one of the interesting things about the pandemic was, I don't know if you remember seeing those videos of animals reclaiming cities, and it was so beautiful. And I think in our subconscious, many people have changed because of the pandemic for the better. But prior to the pandemic, it was something very important to us. As part of your trip, you're going to see another beautiful part of the world, and part of that country or wherever you're going is the beautiful, beings that live there. So we've always in our trips encouraged people to explore and see nature, but in a respectful way. So through the pandemic, we continued on that in terms of creating guidelines and ensuring that we picked the right experiences that was respectful, to nature and animals. So it allowed us to do a lot. It gave us time to assess and really build on what we were building.
Fantastic. And we'll go on to sort of ESG and sustainability, but you've talked about cash is king, which is absolutely right. We do a CEO survey, and actually the things that have come out that most CEOs say worry them is, I suppose, tech and talent. If we look at talent, how have you attracted, retained and motivated staff to be with you on that journey when they may look like the rest of us and say there weren't going to be any holidays, so I'll go off and do something else?
Yeah, it was for the travel industry in particular, and I think just hospitality as well. There was a huge drain of people leaving, worried, and rightly so. So from September 2020, we started our recruitment drive. That's kind of right in the midst of the pandemic. We were very fortunate because we were one of the only ones that were aggressively recruiting. Right. So we had a bigger candidate pool, and we were able to attract really great talent to come and join us. People could see that we were active. So, when it was an exciting opportunity for many people to join us. So we continued that. And, one of the things that we really felt that was different for us was previously when you had an interview, you'd come in and you meet someone, how do you bring people in and onboard them when everyone's working virtually? So that was a new challenge that we took on. Right. And, we refined that process. We learned, we made mistakes, but we learned. And, those, again, the onboarding part was the bigger challenge. When you're a new person joining a company, you want to feel connected, you want to feel, engaged. So we then developed a new process for onboarding, enablement. So we have an enablement manager who, when someone joins, 1 month within enablement, and having virtual office setup, etc. So there's so many things that we did. But in terms of, recruitment for us, it was a big opportunity that we saw, and we went for it, and we are continuing. We started the pandemic with 40 people. We came out of the pandemic with 140 people. Gosh, wow. And we're still growing, and it's part of our ongoing, never stop, keep growing.
Are you seeing a change in your culture? Because we get this from a lot of companies, and even PwC, it's an ongoing discussion. You've onboarded people virtually. I'm guessing probably spread out across the country, because actually and then you could hire people. But now there's a question around hybrid working, to that point about connection, bringing people into an office. How has it been, I guess, since 2020 versus probably now? Yeah,
absolutely. Really good point there. It has changed. In 2020, everyone was stuck at home. Now people can go out and about. And what we're focusing on for us, originally it was recruitment. Yep. Now it's retention for us. A big thing for our culture during the pandemic was we did a power hour every morning, 1 hour a day. And that was just about, things like you join a boxing class, you might join a concert, it could be a quiz. And it was just kind of the most exciting hour of the day in people's lives during the pandemic in our company was Power Hour. We've moved that to once a week, and we're looking at kind of many other things that we've implemented. Unlimited holidays. Now you can travel. So if you go for 2 weeks and you want to stay out there longer, you can. And we also implemented things like employee assistance program. So whether it's you need legal help or mental health support, that's there. We have a life coach as well. Right. So anyone can access the life coach. It could be for personal or it could be work related, and it's a confidential, forum. We're looking at culturally, one of the most, I suppose, challenging things growing as an entrepreneur, when you're a smaller company, you can really have everyone engaging with your culture and your vision. But when you get to over 100 people, how do you do that? And, it's impossible to expect your culture and vision to be the same as when you had 5 people in a room hustling with more than 100 people. So what I now focus on is supporting my leadership team and enabling them and their managers, who then have their teams, to create their micro cultures that support our overall company vision and philosophy and ways of working and our values, and empowering them to say, look, that's your team. How do we help you create an environment that everyone feels loved and they've got a best friend? So, that's constant. My background, I worked in operations, retail operations, and I was the global HR director for Calvin Klein. So it is something that I did for many years, supporting businesses to enable their people to achieve the ultimate goals. And a lot of that was culture. We're a business of people. Yeah. So it's the biggest investment for us. So it's out there on my agenda as number one.
So I then have to come to the other question, because you talked about going through the COVID time, the growth time, and we talked about data and using that data and how you get that product out. We've just talked about the importance of people. I guess then the bit is the balance with tech. The buzzword at the moment is ChatGPT, and I'm sure there's other ones out there for anybody else who wants to use them. Sound like the BBC. But I've been looking at it, and it's impressive. And I have asked the question, plan me a holiday for 10 days. I guess, how are you combining this retention, this recruitment of people with tech?
So for me, tech is foundational alongside people. I think they both go for us as a business hand in hand. If I start with, why I started the business, my love for travel and solving problems. The problem we're trying to solve is making, trip building for our clients simple, quick, and easy. They're time poor. And how do you do that? And I think for us, it's always been technology. We've raised around 3.1 million in investment since we started the business, and a lot of that has gone towards technology. So for us, technology is it's innovation, it's creativity. So when you want to solve a problem, what we've always done is we've tested solving problems in very small, simple ways first. Whether it's a manual process or it's an agile test through tech. And we always want to see an improvement with the tech, because tech is very expensive. For any entrepreneur who knows, trying to build a solution is not cheap. So it's really important that you first test your hypotheses and make sure that what you think it's going to give you, whether it's an increase in efficiency or revenue, is actually going to be, delivering what you expect it to. So we're constantly running small tests. Right. The reason we use technology is to enable us to be better, service our clients better, rocket power our team members so that they can deliver more. So
are you upskilling your people also in tech, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So our developers are constantly doing what they call a spike. A spike is they've got a problem, they need to work out how they're going to solve it. So they might spend a week just researching and learning about that particular, whether it's a new language or it's a feature or it's a different problem they're trying to solve. The developers are constantly self-learning and developing, and if it's necessary, because there's new problems constantly coming their way to solve. So it might be that we need this to be quicker, and they've never done it before, or what we're trying to do is automate the travel agent, but also have people who are there for our customers so that they can be handheld.
And that's your difference, isn't it? Sorry to interrupt, between ChatGPT, that it's people. And just sorry to cut in there, Nina, just as I'm conscious time, it's a very interesting conversation. It's going far too quickly. You talked earlier about dealing with suppliers who looked after the animals and allowed the animals to be in the right environment. We've had an interesting question from the floor that said, how do you see the travel industry adapting to the climate change crisis?
I'm quite inspired at the moment by what I'm seeing. LinkedIn and other companies are, really focusing. I think the pandemic again has taught us that it's so integral. For us, we look at it. There's a lot around CO2, and I think there's some great innovation going on. And technology is also enabling it. We work with one partner who's looking at how they can support more CO2 reduction through technology. Our thing is animals, which I've mentioned, but there is a vast array of things, and I think the travel industry is really adopting it, and I think it can be a force of good for out there, and trailblazing some of those opportunities that are out there. But there's so much innovation in the environment at the moment, and it's inspiring and exciting as well to see.
Fantastic.
Can I ask one more question?
Of course you can.
And I guess it's just coming back to the people piece, because somebody did write in, and you mentioned it actually. So somebody out there knows you, which is you do offer this unlimited holiday. Is it a good policy?
I think what it does, one of the things I always found when I worked in a blue chip company, I felt restricted. You've got like 20 or 25 days. Whether anyone decides to take it or not, it's freedom. And we want to give that freedom to people to be able to make a choice if they want to extend their stay. What we find is we've had a number of times people go on a holiday, but they want to go for a longer break. Or they want to have a holiday at the start, work in the middle, and start at the end, maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks extra. I think it's great because it just allows freedom, having it there. I don't see any. I mean,
and you've had growth. I was not saying it. There must be proof in the pudding, because you've continued to grow. You continue to have success. You continue to drive sales.
You think of it this way. If someone really wants that extended stay and you stop them, what's going to happen is they're going to leave. They're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So isn't it better to retain them, that talent, because otherwise you're going to have to hire and train them again?
Do you think, though, they therefore work harder in that therefore they reduce time because they've taken more time of holiday? So your sales must be therefore, right, we thought you were going to do it in 5 days, you've just extended it, but you actually get the same amount in 4 days, probably because they're motivated.
Probably. I think also what we do is better planning. If someone wants to take it off, we know that, so we plan. What we don't want to do is burden that person and say, right, you're going to have to do 3 weeks in 1 week because you're going off. That's also counterintuitive. Right? So I think for us, it's better planning. The leaders will look at that and plan around it. The idea is if you go off and have a longer break, you come back refreshed, you come back recharged, and you're ready for it.
Yep.
And that only in itself is, people are going to be more productive and achieve more in their time when they are back.
Well, you're whetting my appetite that I need to go book a holiday.
No, an excellent. Well, I'll be asking you the next one. Very last question, Nina. There's a few from the floor, but we'll get those answered separately. Because I always think from entrepreneurs, what was that one thing that you wish someone had told you when you started the journey that would, that you think other entrepreneurs should know about?
For me, it's around resilience.
Because obviously you were growing in the pandemic.
Yeah.
So.
Be prepared. You're going to have the absolute highs, but with it come the lows. And just be prepared to be vulnerable, because when you're vulnerable, everyone will come around you and help you. If you're not vulnerable and you kind of think, I've got to just do this on my own and be that strong founder, it's very painful. So allow yourself to open up and ask for help earlier.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nina, very much for sharing the journey. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, audience, for listening. Our next one was going to be March the 15th, but Rishi has ruined it for us because of the budget. So we look forward to entertaining Morton from Meatless Farm. Watch this space. We'll let you know when the date is. Have a good day, everybody. And Nina, thank you once again.
Thank you.
And sorry, get booking your holidays. Thank you.